Thank you, Brandy, for that great introduction to the system. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what we found so far, and this is really a work in progress, and we are happy to have all of you guys contribute, and hopefully we can find even more insights about how we can be better prepared. So just to set up what we've done so far, out of about the 1,200 participants, we've had a good mix of participants from both the Bay Area and also Southern California. We are still trying to get more participants from the Central Valley, as you can see. So if you have friends and family out there that you think would be interested in something like this, please send them a link. That would be great. So the first thing that I wanted to cover was the quantitative responses. So just how prepared do Californians think they are? We asked these 6 questions, and we had participants rate on a scale from 0 to 9 about whether they agreed with the statement, I feel prepared, or I feel personally prepared, along those lines. So we would usually expect some sort of a normal distribution. Like most people are somewhere in the middle, and there are a few people going from, on one hand, like not prepared at all, to the other hand, like hardcore survivalists. We'd want to understand what that spectrum was. And for the most part, we found that 4 out of the 6 questions did satisfy that assumption that there was kind of this peak in the middle. Most people felt that they were neither ill-prepared nor very well-prepared. But the 2 questions that actually really stood out were the benefits of early warning, that people felt that early warning systems would be really valuable, and also the plans for family and friends. And so this is something that I think would be really good. These are really good insights to set up the talks that we're going to have today. So on one hand, we found that when we asked the question to participants, do they agree that an early warning system is valuable? Almost universally, all of the participants said that this is something the state government should be doing. They agreed that this is something that would be really helpful. And on the other hand, when we asked this question of, I have a plan for my friends and family that we know where to meet in case of a disaster, we actually found that surprisingly, a very large portion of people actually said that they were not satisfied with their plans. So I would like to say that on one hand, we see that early warning systems are really, definitely the public thinks that these are something important, and maybe we need to convey their capabilities and raise awareness that such things are technologically feasible to some extent. And also, we need to also spread awareness, saying that you have to develop plans for your friends and family to understand what to do in the case of a disaster. So the most important part of the CAFE system in some sense is collecting the open-ended suggestions to understand what kinds of ideas people want and what kinds of ideas did we miss in those first 6 questions. So we actually got a good mix. Brandy showed you the tags earlier. We got a good mix of topics. A lot of people thought that communication, the government could really help keeping communication lines open, communicate with citizens to understand what's actually going wrong, where to go and to do so on and so forth. But interestingly enough, there were a lot of people, nearly 35% of the people, who actually said that training was really important, that said that we should really be focused on education and training and learning how to do it, because I really don't know. And that was kind of a sentiment that we saw that was echoed in a lot of the open-ended suggestions. So just to recap, we asked the question, how could our state government help us be better prepared for a major earthquake? And I just want to highlight some of the really insightful suggestions that we actually got out of this. So there were a lot of people who actually suggested to leverage new technology to help us better be prepared, or in the event of a disaster. So there are all these kind of social media apps that have interesting neighborhood meetups and things along those lines. Like Nextdoor is one example of those. Some people suggested that you should be leveraging these apps to build communities and neighborhoods so a neighborhood knows how to jointly respond to a disaster. The other thing that was also an interesting thread in a lot of different comments was actually going to schools and teaching high school students the skills needed to be resilient to a lot of these earthquake scenarios. And we saw this actually in a number of different comments, and this was kind of an overall thing, and we think that this idea has some merit, that maybe we should be having a small course for high school students. When we thought about it, the number of people who actually suggested this seems like a very sensible idea. The other kind of vein that we also see in a lot of the comments is, I don't know how to build a disaster kit. And that's also something that we're really interested in, and we'd hope that with getting more ideas from more people, we would also get some more concrete ways in how the government could actually help with something along those lines. There were ideas of having tax incentives, providing some of these things at the DMV. I'm sure you all in the audience have more ideas as well on how we could make that happen. So there was also, just to kind of wrap up, there were also a few people who suggested that it's not clear what to do in the event of a disaster, that I don't know where the government is going to be giving aid. I don't know where to go if my office building, in my office building in the event of an earthquake. So I think that this is also something that we need to think about, that how can we just spread awareness? How can the government communicate the best practices to the people? So yeah, I think that's it for this section of the presentation.